This is how wonderful of an event this is. We've got Michael Tellinger to my right, and everybody go look to your right because Billy Carson is just walking up the road in a three-piece suit. Look, this is what it's like here. The best speakers, it's the best event. This is just insane for me. Michael Tellinger is here. Last night, we had a dinner party at my house, and Michael was one of our guests, and I was able to sit with Michael, imagine this, drink, eat food, and talk for 4 hours at a table. How cool is that, right? Somebody pinch me. Because, and I'm saying this not to make everybody jealous, because I'm just like all of you. I was a researcher, I was a fan. My career is what it is today, but I've been following this guy forever. And last night, I had the opportunity to tell him, man, you remember? Am I making this up? We had this conversation, didn't we? Just say yes, Jimmy. Back me up. So do you remember your presentation in 2012 in Amsterdam, that video? And he goes, yeah. I said, dude, it changed my life. And here we are sitting in my home, having dinner and talking. He is so important to this community and to who I am today and the way that I look at things. His vision of lost history, his vision of the past, his vision of the future, the way he ties in science and physics and consciousness, it is superlative and second to none. So for you to be able to sit here right now and listen to this man, just you have to help me out and enjoy this and give a big round of applause. DisclosureFest 2019 welcomes from South Africa, Mr. Michael Tellinger. Michael, come on up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Jimmy Church, for such a wonderful, gracious introduction. I'd like to say hello to my South African friends here. There's at least one. And those that are in hiding, hello. How's it? So I was up till very late last night. I think we left Jimmy's house at about midnight after drinking a whole bottle of tequila. And it was always with the very nervous reminder that I had to come and do a presentation today, which I'm used to doing, not inebriated, but and used to doing under stressful situations. So we're on a tour of the USA. If you're not aware of that, my fiancée Emma and I are on tour of 17 cities. This has now become city number 18. From here we go to Minneapolis, and we go to the East Coast all the way down to Miami, and then across to the Gulf, Texas, and all the way up to Kansas. So we end up exactly about a month from now, and our 2-month-long tour of the USA, where we spread knowledge, information about origins of humankind, try and elevate the collective consciousness, and connect the dots, what I like to call connecting the dots from the ancient past to the crazy world we find ourselves in today. Because if you can't connect the dots to try and make sense of this stuff, it's pretty messy. It's just so, we're such a species with amnesia. We got no bloody clue who we are, where we come from, and why we're here. And there's so many disparate ideas and philosophies and religions, and so it's an insane world out there. And to tie into this, we get into the field of mainstream physics and mainstream academia that makes it even more confusing. So what I like to do is bring all of that together and show how simple all this stuff really is, and how it should be taught at school, which does not happen at this stage. So I was up early this morning working on my presentation, my PowerPoint presentation, to share with you today, not realizing that there is no PowerPoint. So I'm going to shoot from the hip and just do this the old way, where we converse. And if you want to throw something at me, if you want to say something or share an idea, feel free to do so. So let's treat this more like a workshop than me talking at you, which it makes it far more interactive and exciting. There's a hand up already.
Hello? Great, thank you. Good work, Michael. You have many talents. So I was listening to Mysterious Universe last night, the podcast, and they were saying that the out of Africa origin of human beings has been updated to out of Australia with the Aboriginals.
Oh, the bloody Australians always want to one-up South Africa, you know, really. Screw them. We're much older than Australia. Now, look, what happens when you start looking at this? It gets really complicated and really messy. Okay, and I don't want to jump into that side of the debate because that's not really what I'm here talking about today. I'd like to talk about Ubuntu and contributionism. I'd like to talk about what this knowledge and information leads to, because I spend full-day workshops doing, deep science and physics and quantum mechanics and what I call the particle physics agenda, the truth about space, how it all fits together into genetics and all this kind of stuff, and I make it really simple for people to comprehend. But at the end of the day, it's all exciting stuff, but what do we do with that information? Because we wake up tomorrow morning and everybody has to go back to slavery, our mind-numbing jobs, and try and make ends meet, put bread and money on, make money to put bread and milk on the table to feed their kids, and we realize we go back on the hamster wheel and nothing has changed. So for me, the critical thing about this is, what do we do with this information? And out of Africa, out of Australia, this is an argument that goes on and on. My Aussie friends keep sending me new details about how this and that. But what I can tell you is from my research is that there have been many, many, many different epochs of rise and fall of civilizations and the creation and cloning of new species. Our species, whatever we want to call it, Homo sapiens, human race or whatever, is just one of those epochs and eras that we still find ourselves in. And even within that platform, there have been extinctions and wipeouts and restarts and reboots. And this is why we truly are a species with amnesia. It's really spectacular to see how little we know. And on that note, because I'm probably not going to come back to this, if you have not yet seen Europa, The Last Battle, please make a note of this. Go and watch this. And you'll be shocked and horrified as to how little we really know about our very recent history. The last 200 years, 250 years, and especially the last 60 or 70 years. What really happened with the Second World War, what really happened with the First World War, and how fingers have been pointed at all the wrong people. If we can change, if the puppet masters, I call them the puppet masters, if the puppet masters can change our history right in front of our eyes without us realizing it, oh my God, can you imagine how wrong the history from 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000 years ago is? If we don't even know what the history is from the last 50 years, it's insane. There are still people here in the USA that believe a bunch of Arabs flew 2 airplanes into the towers in New York. Some people still believe that. Right? It's okay. They can believe that. But unfortunately, that's the problem we face. So these are the challenges that we face as a species. So how do we solve this? So by show of hands, how many of us here today are happy with the way the world is going? How many of us today believe that everything is just beautiful and fantastic, going in the right direction, the governments are doing a great job, that we're all living our lives to the full? How many of us? Raise your hands if you believe the world is going exactly as it should be. So, no one ever puts up their hand. Always somebody that's making a joke. And hold on, I'm going to come back to questions. So, the largest crowd that I asked this question was about 3,000 people in Germany in 2015 or something. And even in Germany, 3,000 people, no one put their hand up. So it tells us very clearly that nobody is happy. Guys, there's space in the front here if you want to come sit down. And if you need to leave, I won't be offended if you have to leave. It's okay. It says we're all in this together. So grab a seat on the grass here. So it all tells us that nobody is happy. No one in the world is happy with what's going on. Everyone is equally unhappy. And the question is, what are we doing about that? Now, I want to share with you, if you have not been following the Ubuntu movement and the expansion of this very simple philosophy, how we can change from the slave-driven system to a whole new social structure without any violence, opposition, or conflict, how elegantly and simply we can transition that. This is what I'm here to share with you. Not only with you, but specifically with the musicians and all the bands and all the performers here. Because they have a responsibility to take this information and share this with their audiences. We all know how powerful music is. Musicians can reach a lot of people very, very quickly. If we can get a few mainstream musicians, actors, sports people to make this philosophy their own, really embrace this, truly comprehend what's going on here and how simply we can transition into a new social structure, a new paradigm without any violence, opposition, or conflict, into a world of prosperity and abundance, then this can happen very, very quickly and rapidly. So my main reason coming here today was really to share that with the musicians here today. So if you're connected and related to any of these, please make sure that they get this message. So no one is happy with what's going on, and we need to find a new system. You wanted to ask something, sir?
Yeah. Well, I'm staying focused on what you're saying about trying to fight a new system, fight for a new system, or fight for our system back. Because what you've researched in the past is the natural system and where it got out of hand. As you know, it went into different worlds like mechanical, which is minerals, stone, minerals, etc. To where we are now, plastics and other type of elements. We need to originally go back to what we are, related to the planet. We're organic, so is the planet. It's organic. We live on a plant, okay, which stands for plan terrestrial, which plants are. They're terrestrial beings. We are on a planet. As human beings, we are on a planet. We are a plan extraterrestrial. This is my personal philosophy. So we are here to collab with these plants, the terrestrials, and receive from them what they give us, nutrition, health, and in return we give them what do plants enjoy from us? Well, they give us joyous of oxygen, right?
So can I interrupt you? Sorry, did you have a question, or because?
Well, you said, well, that's the only way we're going to fight the system. That's
okay, we're not going to fight any system. So I want to stop you
no,
right
no,
there.
not
We're
a
not
fist
fighting
fight.
any system.
No,
we're not challenging any system. We're not opposing any system.
Right.
This is the beauty of what. I'm going to ask you to just have a seat
in a
and
beautiful way.
let's continue.
Some people probably understood what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, but
The natural way.
yeah, I'm going to go through all of this.
Okay.
If you join this conversation, this presentation.
There's a conversation back and forth with me
Yeah.
and you and everybody talking to you. So I just brought up a statement.
Thank you.
Okay.
Where was I? Contributionism. So we need to find a new system, and as the gentleman mentioned, a lot of us are really stuck in the whole paradigm of opposing, fighting for, and so forth. And unfortunately, that's an old paradigm. Now, first of all, how many of you are familiar with what's going on with the money system? How many of you truly understand what money is, where it comes from, how it was created? This is the key component. And I need to share with you, without the support of my PowerPoint presentation, which does a lot of the work, obviously, what money is, how it was created, when it was first introduced, because most of us are completely oblivious of this. And yet it is money that completely and utterly controls our lives. Every aspect of every breath we take, from the first breath we take to the last breath we breathe out, our lives are completely and utterly controlled by money and those who control the supply of money to the world. This is a big thing. And until we come to terms with that, money will remain the tool that enslaves us. And we continue feeding the beast and this black magic machine that was created in our lives. And believe this or not, the money that we use every day is imbued with some sort of a bizarre black magic spell. This is why we're trapped in it for thousands and thousands of years. So, most of us believe that money evolved out of thousands of years of bartering and trading and exchanging goods. That is the first mistake we make. That is what gets taught to us at school, because that's what is created. That lie has been spun for us by those who write the textbooks, the history books, and those who create the educational books for our education system. Who are these people? The same people that own all the research laboratories, that own all the drug companies, that own all the media companies, and so it goes. I think you're getting the point. So, unfortunately, the origins of money is far more mysterious and strange than most people realize. The first time we hear about the creation of money goes to about 4,000 years ago on Sumerian clay tablets that were found in Sumer or Sumeria, which is the modern Iraq today. And these clay tablets that are known as the King's Lists have very important information that they share with us. They share with us basically the lineage of the first kings on earth, the first priest kings on earth. They just suddenly appeared out of the blue overnight. These were these kings that appeared. And the clay tablets tell us about the time when kingdom was lowered to earth from heaven. And the gods appointed from among the people the first priest kings to rule over humanity. Now, this is a really important moment in human history, where we read about these gods, these beings that are somewhere up there and have the capacity to fly and navigate space. And these beings and entities came down to earth, and they found those who they could basically use and abuse from among the humans, and they elevated them to the first royal bloodlines, or known as the first priest kings. And this goes back, it's very difficult to put a timeline on it, because the Sumerian clay tablets go back about 6,000 years ago, but they themselves talk about a time before time where they got all their knowledge and information from. So we first read about the creation and the introduction of the royal bloodlines on earth about 4,000 years ago on the Sumerian, what known as the Sumerian Kings Lists. What is fascinating about this is that these first priest kings suddenly appear out of the blue. They become the first royal bloodlines. They suddenly own all the land. They have fierce weapons with which to control humanity that they were given by somebody they got from somewhere, who knows where, probably most likely from these gods or these beings that appointed them. And they had to appoint them with fierce weapons so that if the people didn't listen to them, they would be able to smite them. And as you know, there was a lot of smiting going on in those days. So if you don't do this, I will smite you and your family for 7 generations. Make sure you put salt on my burnt offerings when you bring me burnt offerings into the tabernacle. You got to clean yourself with anointment oil, which consists of 5 or 6 different disinfection ingredients. So all we're basically reading in the Old Testament is a process by which humanity was enslaved by a group of malicious beings that elevated themselves and pulled the wool over our eyes. We confuse this timeline, this activity in ancient times, between what many of us here believe the great creation, the great creation of all things in the universe, by a divine creation process, whatever you want to call it yourself. And we confuse what I call God with a big G with the gods with a small g, these malicious bastards that came to earth and basically enslaved all of humanity and cloned a bunch of people to be their slaves in the gold mines in southern Africa. Now that's what I talk about, write about. I show physical evidence of this in my books. I show the ancient structures that cover most of southern Africa, millions and millions of ancient structures that generate energy, all the gold mining, how it's connected, tools and technology that they used. And the tools and technology, by the way, are the most advanced tools and technology that we use in the military today. Toroidal fields, sound, laser beam technology. I have many of these in my museum in South Africa, just to show you how far back this goes. This goes back 300,000 years ago. So this is a very basic idea of how money was introduced. So these first priest kings were appointed by these gods, these beings that came from somewhere. They created humanity, they appointed these royal bloodlines, and the next thing they did, they built these temples in which they lived to defend themselves and protect themselves. And from these temples, they started to issue money. The first forms of money were created on clay tablets in those ancient times, because keep in mind, in ancient times, people couldn't read and write. Nobody could read and write. The only ones that could read and write were the royalty and their scribes. They could write any shit on a piece of clay and put it out there and tell you what it says. Nobody knew what it said. So these guys started to print money in the form of clay tablets. And it's spectacular. When you find evidence of these little clay tablets that are the first forms of money, they are exactly the same structure and methodology that our modern banking system works today. They were basically creating promissory notes, checks, and bills of exchange, and negotiable instruments in clay. It's exactly the same way our banking system is structured today. So this is how far back this implementation goes. So money did not evolve out of thousands of years of bartering and trading. Please put that out of your mind. The sooner you can forget that, the easier it is to make the transition into what we should do with this knowledge and how to take it forward into a new world of prosperity and abundance for everyone. So, thank you. And I hope that that I'm going to get this across without the linear progression of the PowerPoint that normally supports me. But I've done this a few times, so hopefully my memory will serve me today. So what do we do with this system? We can't change the system. We find ourselves in a social structure in which we are completely and utterly immersed in this financial economic slavery. To most of us, we grow up with a belief that competition is good. We grow up with all the false sense of beliefs that molds our society. And like in The Truman Show, when the movie The Truman Show, right, you know that Hollywood makes movies and they hide the real information in plain sight. Many researchers have shown how Hollywood movies, really, they hide the truth in plain sight so we can see it, absorb it subconsciously, and then on top of it, they pile all the lies and the deceptions. So this is really important. The Truman Show gave us some very interesting ideas about what's really going on. You know, we actually, the human race is Truman. Just that's it. And we don't realize that we've been kept in this place called Earth, completely enslaved, manipulated. We don't even know what space is anymore. You know, you may have heard in February 2016, NASA tried to overcome the big problem with the Van Allen belts, radiation belts that basically prevents any spacecraft from going into space, going to the moon and so forth. And the one way they had to finally overcome the problem, which many mainstream scientists started to ask, well, how did the Apollo astronauts get to the moon going through the Van Allen belts? And it's a big problem. It's become a huge problem. So they could no longer handle this problem. And I'm digressing a little bit to show you how all of this stuff is interconnected. So what NASA had to come up with is a whole new lie to dispel with like more and more mainstream scientists asking, how did you get to the Van Allen belts? And so in February 2019, a major new discovery released by the space agencies, they discovered that the moon lies within the Earth's atmosphere. This is mainstream news, space agency news. We no longer have to worry about the Van Allen belts, guys. Don't worry about it. We didn't have to go through the Van Allen belts because the moon actually lies within the Earth's atmosphere. This is spectacular bullshit, right? But unfortunately, if people don't know this, they believe that crap. And this is it just perpetuates more and more nonsensical and perpetuates a species with deeper amnesia. That's just, so please keep this in mind. And I would really recommend that you go online, find my name, Michael Tellinger, go to YouTube. There are dozens, if not hundreds of videos available for free. Plus, I've just launched yesterday a new channel, an online channel. It'll cost you $11 a month, but you're going to get 20 to 30 minutes a week of new knowledge, new information, taking you through ancient civilizations of South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, that whole part of the world, showing you what it looks like, showing you the ancient ruins, showing you the ancient technology and sites that most people will never get to see. So go to michaeltellinger.com, sign up for my new channel, and you'll get all this information. Let's get back to this plan of action. How are we going to extricate ourselves from this insane financial slavery system that's been imposed on us for far too long? Most of us know that something is wrong with the system, but most people don't know what to do about it. So you don't have to worry about this anymore because there have been many amazing people that have worked this out. And I seem to be the messenger that has taken this message to the world, and millions of people have become really excited about it. It's still not enough. We need to reach that critical mass. And today, what I'm going to share with you, by the time we leave here in the next 5 minutes, I want everyone to be fully aware of how simple this is, okay? But before we go to the outcome of this, which is what we call, with the Ubuntu movement, one small town can change the world. By the time we leave here, I want everyone here to know in their hearts that it's not only possible, that we are very, very close to actually achieving that. Very close. And so how do we get there? So just a little bit more about the current system. So first of all, we can't change the current system using the same kind of thinking that we used to create the system. Does it make sense to you? Because that's the problem. We constantly think, well, how are we going to use money or the economic system or the political system or this BS system, or how are we going to use this crap that we've got to change the crap that we find ourselves in? You're just reshuffling the crap. You're not creating anything new, making a new playpen for the pigs to extort our lives. So we need to really transcend into a new paradigm of thinking. And then that new paradigm of thinking, unfortunately, is the only way out of this is to remove the problem. By now, we should all know what the problem is. The problem is money. Yeah. Now, every day, 7.5 or 8 billion people wake up and we go and do something. We do incredible things. We paint, we build, we construct, we invent, we create, we grow food, we give birth, we do the most remarkable, amazing, transcendental things on a level that we can't even imagine. We produce so much stuff every day. And yet at the end of the day or at the end of the month, most of the people that are involved in the creation of these things can't even afford to buy the things that they make and create. Now, how insane a world is that? If we live in a small town and we need to build a bridge across the river to get to the forest so we can get wood to build our community, we get together and we decide we need to build a bridge. Why? Because we need to get to the forest across the river. The answer is very simple. We don't need to try and justify that to a banker or to some corporate government office. We need a bridge to get to the forest. So we get together in our village, we get all the engineers, we get the people that know how to do the job, right? Isn't that what you normally do? You get the people that know how to do the job. But that seems to have flown out the window in our academic institutions, teaching people real skills for life with which we can actually make a better world for ourselves, instead of teaching all the crap that we graduate with what? A piece of paper with which we do what? Looking for a job? Yeah, it's just insanity that perpetuates itself. So very quickly, we build a bridge across the river. How long is it going to take us? As long as it takes to build the bridge, if we don't have to worry about money. And I'm jumping around a little bit now, so please bear with me, because my brain is going a little haywire here. Once we finish building the bridge, when do we hand over our bridge to a private company or a bank so they can charge us to use the bridge that we built for ourselves? At which point do we do that? Never. And yet that's what happens to us every day. We build the stuff, we build the roads, we build the highways, we build the cities, we build the schools, we build everything for humanity, and we get charged into submission that most of us can't even afford to use the services and the things that we build. And not only that, some people can't even afford to buy food anymore. So, let's come back a little bit. Let me try and get my the flow of this in the right order. Okay, so we need to step out of the paradigm that we've been thinking and adopt a whole new way of thinking to get out of the system. Albert Einstein actually said that you can't solve the problems using the same kind of thinking that you used to first create the problems, and that's really wise of him to do that. By the way, Albert Einstein also disagreed with the existence of the electron, if you're not aware of that. Now I'm really jumping around. So did Edward Leeds-Skolnin that built Coral Castle, and so did Nikola Tesla. It said, I don't believe in the existence of electrons. That's a whole nother lecture on the quantum physics or quantum mechanics zoo and insanity. That is part of the education system that brings us to this point where we sit around wondering what the hell is going on, right? And how can we have one model of physics that describes what's known as the mainstream physics, and then we have a whole different set of rules that describes quantum physics. So we got two sets of rules. One describes the physical world around us, and another one describes the world, quantum world, that is completely different, but it's the quantum world one that makes the physical world one. What the fuck is going on here? Really? You got to be kidding me. So I'm just showing you little snippets of what I do in full lectures and full day workshops where we go into the real science of the madness and insanity behind this, the veil that brings us here today. So to get back to why we're here today, and that is to free ourselves from the economic slavery and to show how simple it is. So we have to change the system, we have to remove the problem, and the problem is money. So how do we remove money from the system? First of all, it took me many, many years, since 2005, when I first started to talk about a world without money. And just so those of you that don't know who I am, that don't know why I'm standing here today, what brought me here, why they invited me to speak, I've been talking about this for many, many years, writing books about it, traveling the world, more than 30 countries, doing lectures probably in more than 400 cities around the world, talking about a world without money and a new civilization in which we no longer need money. It's not about taking money out of society, so you got no money and you got to pay for shit. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about creating a society in which money is no longer needed. And when you see how simple it is absolutely spectacular that we have not come there yet. And I'd like every one of you to walk out of here today knowing how simple it is and becoming seeds of consciousness. Whatever community you come from, become that seed of consciousness that takes this message back to your people. The Native American tribal lands, oh my God, that is like ripe and ready for introducing this. The fact that this is not happening in the tribal lands drives me nuts. You know, the guys can do it literally overnight. It's slightly more tricky to do it in municipal structures that we have, but I'm still gonna share with you how simple it is to do it wherever we choose to do it. So we're gonna remove money from the system, but we cannot do it with violence, opposition, or conflict, because that is the old paradigm. Now, to learn this, in 2010, I entered the political arena, and we launched the Ubuntu Party in South Africa. After that, the Ubuntu Party was launched in Canada, the UK. We were about to launch it in the USA, and the Ubuntu movement grew to hundreds of thousands of people around the world, all knowing that we need to change the world. We need something better than the system that we face every day. What we learned in 2012, I was involved in the political elections, and then 2014 I ran for president in South Africa. 2016 we realized that doesn't work because the complete political election process is completely and utterly manipulated. I had to go into it and go through it to learn about it. Otherwise I couldn't stand here and share this information with you having walked the talk. Then it's just a theoretical experience. I now know what it's all about, how it works, how it functions, so I can speak to you with absolute confidence and conviction and the experience of having done that. So when we realize that the entire political outcome of the election is manipulated, we realize that we can't beat them at that system. I believed at that stage that we could inject the seed of consciousness into the political beast. Well, that didn't work because the political beast is completely and utterly controlled by who? The banksters. Now, once again, this is just to explain a little bit about the money. So the politics didn't work, right? Politics didn't work. Just remind me to come back to the money because I know some people don't quite know how the money thing works. So we quickly take you through the complete hierarchical control of the money around the world. This is really important for everybody to know this. Not think they know it, absolutely know it. And it's very simple, how the structure works. So in 2016, we finally ran in the South African elections, and we really wanted to implement at that stage the one small town can change the world strategy, where we realized that We cannot win on a grand scale. We cannot win the elections and I'll become president. That's never going to happen. Where we can win and influence the people are in the small towns. That's where people live. People in small towns have more power and more say than we can imagine. And all we need to do is find one mayor, one conscious mayor, that will implement the strategy and create the domino effect. Right, so that's really where we're going to today. So very basically, money is not really the tool that enslaves us. It is the control of money. Okay, so when people talk about how wealthy people are, that's irrelevant. The guys that control the money, first of all, they're faceless, nameless. We don't really know who they are. We call them the puppet masters that sit behind the banking families that run the world. The banking families have the control over the money system, and they create the money for all the countries. The central banks of every country, if you're not aware of this, if you know this, please forgive me for boring you with this, but this is important that the people that are here that don't know about this need to know this. The central bank of every country is a private corporation that does not belong to the people or the government. It's a complete private corporation that operates outside of the jurisdiction or the legal structure of that country. So you cannot sue the Fed. You cannot sue the South African Reserve Bank. You cannot take them to court. They are untouchable. They can do whatever they want. They have no repercussions. They are completely and utterly untouchable. So this is a big problem. A quick solution to that is by replacing the central bank with a people's bank, where the people actually print the money and create the money for themselves. That's an immediate solution. What does that solution bring us? Very simply, two very important things. If we had a people's bank, and I'm not saying that is a solution, we need to move way beyond that, way beyond money. If we had a people's bank overnight, there'd be no tax, no levies, no income tax, no duties, nothing. There'd be no tax because we print the money ourselves. Why would we charge ourselves tax and interest and crap like that on money that we print for ourselves? The only reason we pay tax or inflation or any of these fees and levies is because our governments are borrowing money from a private corporation called the Federal Reserve Bank, or whatever that central bank is of that country. So that's clearly a situation that was set up to enslave humanity, enslave each country. And this is why banks, if you think back about a few years ago when countries were going bankrupt, how is it possible that a country can go bankrupt? It's an insane idea. When banks start bailing out countries, you know who's in the highest pecking order. The bank. If the bank is bailing out a country, you know that there's a problem in the hierarchical structure. So we're going to get rid of the money, but how are we going to do this? We can't do that overnight because that just creates chaos. We need to create a structure and a slow process that doesn't upset the current system, that goes without violence, opposition, or conflict, that can achieve this. And that's what we discovered. Since 2005, the UBUNTU or contributionism philosophy has evolved beautifully, slowly, organically to a fully evolved plan of action that is now pretty much out of my hands, and it now sits with people like you to take this to your communities, to your friends, share it with as many people as you can. It is not my system, it's not my thing, it's everybody's thing. It belongs to the world. I have no gain or benefit from this whatsoever. I'm just here sharing with you how easy it is for you to liberate yourselves from this social economic slavery system. And one small town can change the world. In fact, one small town will change the world very, very soon. So how do we do this? Since we cannot go into politics, we cannot become president, take over a country and rule it back into normality or into abundance. That's not going to happen. But we can do this in a small town. All we got to do is find a small town and a conscious mayor, and everything changes. Very quickly, before I talk about the One Small Town plan of action, the difference between intentional communities and the One Small Town strategy. You may know of some intentional communities around the world. There are many intentional communities that seem to be doing okay, but it seems that many of them are starting to feel the pressure of the socioeconomic structure around them. I know that Damanhur in Italy is undergoing a lot of problems right now. I know that Esalen up here in California has had its own share of problems. The problem with these intentional communities is that they might be okay for the people that are there, but they certainly have had no impact or effect on the world around them. That's what we're going to change with the one small town strategy. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. And this, I must tell you, was for me personally the most liberating and simply brilliant download that I had several years ago. And suddenly everything became very, very clear. To use the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. And by that I mean everything. Money, the capitalist system, the corporate structure, the pyramid system, the compartmentalized system, the political system. Every system has been thrown at us can be used and turned around so that it actually helps and benefits humanity. We're not going to oppose it or fight it or resist it. That's when it overcomes you. We cannot beat the system. The puppet masters that run our governments run everything. They control the printing of the money. They control the governments. They control the large corporations. They control the courts, the judges, the police. They control everything. Why? Because they set it up. It's very simple. When people say, whoa, it's not, because they make the rules. So we can't beat them by breaking their rules or at their own game. What we can do is take the energy that gets thrown at us, like martial arts, like Tai Chi, like all these beautiful philosophies. We take that negative, dark energy and we say, thank you very much. We're going to use this and turn this around so that it feeds our community and benefits our community and makes our community more successful than any other community out there. And that then creates the domino effect. So, how does this work? Really, really simply. And this is the One Small Town Can Change the World strategy. Also, you can go online. You can watch the One Small Town. Go to ubuntuplanet.org if you don't know our website. Ubuntu is spelled like that. Ubuntu. ubuntuplanet.org. Watch a 5-minute One Small Town video. That's the introduction. And the rest will follow. There's also a letter to the mayor, an introduction letter that you can print out, download, and take to your mayor and say, Mr. Mayor or Mrs. Mayor, this is what I'd like you to read and install or implement in our town. The beauty about that letter is that nowhere does it ask the mayor for any money. It doesn't ask the mayor to jump tracks to something else. All it asks is the mayor, or shows the mayor, tells the mayor how to implement this step by step, revitalize the town, use all the broken farms, the broken factories, the broken infrastructure, how to reactivate it, how that attracts investors. That was a tough word. How that attracts investment and investors into your small town. How do I know this? From experience. Isn't this a beautiful thing? Because we've done this. And we know that this is a consequence of introducing the One Small Town strategy. So, let me backtrack a little bit. In 2017, December 2017, Mayor Ron Higgins from a small town called North Frontenac, Canada, had a meeting with us. Or actually, Emma and I met him in June in outside Toronto. We had a 3-hour-long meeting with him. Mayor Ron Higgins was fully informed. He read all this information on our website, read all the bullet points and the One Small Town strategy. He knew, I was like talking to me. It was unbelievable. He was full into it. Done. I'm ready to go. What must I do? He said, I want your blessing to go ahead or something like that. I said, you don't need my blessing. This is your town. This is your gig, man. Go for it. You know. And so he went away, and he went online and on Facebook, and he did a presentation to his town council to say this is what he wants to do. Going to turn their town around. And then what happened next? First of all, he got all the support from thousands of emails of support. Let me put it this way. Thousands of emails of support saying, well done, this is what all mayors should do. And slowly started implementing this. The next thing that happened is the phone started to ring of investors saying, I've heard what you're doing in your town. I want to invest in your town. By the time I spoke to Ron Higgins, about 3 months later, he had about, I think it was either $13 or $30 million pledged by investors to his small town. Now, how many mayors of small towns do you know that get cold calls from investors to invest in the small towns? 0. There's only one. It's called North Frontenac and Ron Higgins. So we know from that experience, at the moment the mayor implements this, and just the intention to do this already starts to attract the investors. In fact, what is now starting to happen within some financial circles of smart, out-of-the-box, forward-thinking, money-crunching kind of money dudes, they're realizing that the one small town strategy is most likely going to become the most attractive investment opportunity for conscious millionaires in the future. And if you don't know this, the question is why? Why would guys be attracted to invest money in this small town? Aren't we creating future communities without money? Yes, we are. And this is where the one meets the other. This is a beautiful overlay, a beautiful overlap, because very, very wealthy people have one thing on their mind: how to protect their money, how to save their money, how to protect their money, how to prevent the erosion of their wealth. And many of the wealthy people are really nervous that when they die, their children might piss away the money in the next 12 months. And that is a big problem. You inherit a lot of money, and suddenly you don't know what to do with the money. You're a child of a billionaire, and you just go on a spending spree. You don't have no clue what to do with this. And what's going to happen is that the conscious millionaires are going to suddenly find that they can be participating in providing a future platform in which money is no longer needed. They can be providing a future society, a future social structure in which their children can live safely, can survive without the fear of not having any money and having everything that they choose and desire, because the one small town strategy provides all that. So, I'm the mayor of a small town. This is what I do. I call a meeting. I tell our people, we're going to turn our town around. We're going to identify the industrial opportunities. I need to specify, though, that there is a specific size for these towns that we've identified, between 5,000 and 10,000 people. It could be bigger, but not smaller than 5,000 people. There's a very specific reason for that, because you always need enough people to do all the voluntary work. You need to contribute 3 hours a week. It's part of the model. So we need enough people that contributing 3 hours a week, so we've always got people doing stuff in the town. So I'm the mayor. I go out there and I invite all the inventors, all the healers, all the material scientists, all the great minds out there. If you can create free energy, if you can cure cancer, if you can create new materials out of hemp or graphene or whatever, if you can do this and if you can do that, come to my town. We'll give you whatever it is you need to do what you're good at, so that we can create this new future society. What'll happen? What happens is that this provides, now we also keep in mind, we identify the industrial opportunity. All these small towns in the United States, whether it's in the USA, Australia, South Africa, Germany, Canada, wherever you go, small towns are falling apart. They just cannot survive anymore. There are farms standing empty that should be growing food. There are factories standing empty that should be producing stuff that are not doing that. There are dairies and bakeries that could be baking bread and making cheese or whatever it is. Everything is just breaking down in the small towns. This is why these are the perfect opportunities to stop and just turn around in literally no time. And this then provides the opportunity to conscious millionaires. Everyone in the town is required to do one thing, is to contribute 3 hours a week to one of the community projects. 3 hours a week. What does that do for a town of 10,000 people? Suddenly we have a labor force of 30,000 hours a week. 30,000 hours of free labor a week to do things. Suddenly our little town becomes a competitor to all the large corporations around the world. And we can choose to bloody do anything we want. We can start a new computer factory. We can start a new whatever you want. Now, let me ask you a few critical questions. Once the mayor, and again, we use the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation, which means media, YouTube, internet, whatever we can. We use people that know how to make beautiful documentaries and videos to shoot a weekly update from the mayor, telling the people the good news. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing in our town. This is what we've achieved. This is what we're planning. This is what we're going to do. So you inspire the people not only in your town but around the world to tell people how your town is turning around. What does that do? That brings the investors in. That's all investors want to know, is that putting their money in a safe place where everybody is working together. Our town suddenly has 10,000 people that will want that investor to succeed and support that investor every step of the way to succeed. This is a huge benefit for any investor. Can you see how simple that is for the investors in turning things around? And if you're not getting it, there's a lot more of this on YouTube, obviously, and online if you're not quite getting it, because we don't have enough time here as well, and also I don't have the support of my beautiful, beautiful flowing PowerPoint presentation that I normally talk with. So I'm jumping around a bit, but I hope that I'm plugging some of the holes that might be open. So now we go to mayor. The mayor goes out. He puts his message out, or he or she puts his message out. The town gets overwhelmed with inventors, with creators, with healers. Now, how long do you think, once the mayor puts out the message, how long do you think it's going to take us to drive a car on water in our town? Virtually immediately, because we know the technology is available. How long will it take us to create a free energy device? Virtually immediately. How long will it take us to create levitation technology? Virtually immediately. How long will it take us to cure cancer? Virtually immediately. So, can you see how quickly this changes the profile of our town? Because now suddenly, by the invitation of the mayor, who is the politically appointed leader of that town. It's not Michael Tellinger, the leader of some cult movement from South Africa. No, it's the mayor of the town. We're using the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. We're using the lure of capitalism, the lure of greed, of making money in a safe environment. We're using the mayor and the political appointment. We're using capitalist structures to turn our town around into a place of prosperity and abundance. Can you see what I mean by using the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation? It is really that simple. The moment we oppose it, it will beat us, and we cannot win that battle. Now, let me ask you the next question. Once our little hospital, which we can't call a hospital anymore because that goes with a whole bunch of legislation, so we're going to change the word from hospital to health and wellness center. Once our health and wellness center starts to cure cancer. Now keep in mind, I forgot to tell you. I'm coming back to this. First thing that we give the mayor, okay, and I always forget about this because it's so close to me that first thing the mayor of the town gets is our free energy technology. We have it. We have it. Try it and test it. We are not going to release that technology to individuals because that's going to cause more chaos, mayhem, death, and destruction. The only way we're going to release this free electricity and free energy is to a mayor that will put it on a platform so that it benefits everyone equally, not only those that can afford it. Can you see the difference? So all the people that are trying to release new energy, new technology so everyone can buy their own thing, that's just causing more chaos. It's going to cause bloodshed, violence. People will climb over your wall to steal it from you and shoot you for your energy device if they can't afford it. That's not what we're going to do. We have the energy technology to give to the mayor. Now, once the town owns its own free energy technology, all the money we pay every month for electricity stays in our town. So if we get a town of 10,000 people, everyone paying $100 a month, that's $1 million a month that now stays in our town. $1 million a month with which we can uplift and turn our town around. How many towns have $1 million a month to spend on the town in the USA? I would say probably zero at this stage. So I'll talk about small towns of 10,000 people. Doesn't exist. Just from the electricity alone, we've already created a platform of abundance and prosperity. Can you see how strong that makes our community literally overnight? And this is what the mayor can do. So when you give them the letter, the introductory letter that you can download from ubuntuplanet.org, when you give that letter to the mayor, that's what the letter tells him. All you have to do is agree to this and we'll bring our electricity to your town. It's a non-brainer for me. So if the mayor doesn't want to do it, what I suggest to you, start a meetup group, find the most appropriate person, and then run for mayor of your town under this banner, under the One Small Town banner. And then be the mayor that implements it. And I think this is going to start happening very soon because many meetup groups in the USA are already doing this. And out of these meetup groups will probably come the next mayor that does it, unless we find a mayor sooner than that. So, where was I? Hospitals, yes. So now once we got all this stuff going and we got the investors. I mean, if I'm an investor, I've got $10 million. I've got $10 million. Don't know what to do with it. Oh my God, this town they want to create a health and wellness center. They can cure cancer overnight. Oh my God. So the way we structure these businesses, all the businesses that are funded by the investors are split three ways. The investor retains 1/3 of the profits, and the other 2/3 stay in the town and belong to the people and the community collectively. Everyone that contributes 3 hours a week, that's all you got to do. You got to contribute 3 hours a week to participate in the profits of every business that we start. Collectively, not from that one or that one. So if there are 100 businesses in our town that we've started, and you contribute 3 hours a week, you get proceeds that get distributed equally to everyone in the town. 1/3 of the profits go to everyone in the town that contributes their 3 hours a week. What happens very soon is, the other third goes into reinvesting into our community projects and keep upgrading and uplifting our town. So, once our hospital starts to cure cancer, and it's free to our community. Everything is free to the people in our town as long as you contribute your 3 hours a week. But outsiders pay, and we obviously export everything we create. We create the ideas that we create and manufacture 3 times as much as what we need for our community. So we're actually making money from our businesses, our companies, our food growing, etc. How much money we're going to make? How long is it going to take to build a supercomputer? Virtually immediately. So, even if it takes us 12 months, once we get the computer geeks in there, all the guys that want to screw, Silicon Valley and all big computer companies, and there are many of those computer geeks that'll want to get their back on, even on those guys. And they come and build our first supercomputer. It'll be about this big, and you buy one computer for life. You never need another one. It has infinite memory because we actually use crystals and structured water to save stuff, which we know can store infinite memory. We don't need to buy another computer ever again. It never breaks down, and if it does, you just replace it with another one because you stay in the town that you contribute 3 hours a week, and that's how it works. So how many supercomputers do you think we're going to sell from our small town once we built the supercomputer factory? 1,000 a month? 10,000 a month? We'll sell as many as we decide to build as a community. So how much money is our supercomputer factory going to make in our little, pisswilly small town? An insane amount of money. We can't put a number to it because we're just speculating. The point is that just one company, one little factory, like a little computer factory, will probably make more money than the entire town makes at the moment. Let's move to the next theory. Once we start curing cancer in our health and wellness center, how many people from around the world do you think are going to come to our little health and wellness center to be cured of cancer? Thousands. So, how much money is our health and wellness center going to make, even if we charge a fraction of what other so-called cancer treatments charge, because we can choose to charge virtually nothing, right? How much money is our health and wellness center going to make? Billions. So can you see how a little town, just with 2 little adjustments, we're not even talking about growing food, we're not talking about tourism, we're not talking about anything else, just 2 little areas, electronics and healthcare, right? We can make billions in a little town by taking these very simple steps. So, if you extrapolate this, and you take 1/3 of that income every month, and we make 100 million a month, and that gets distributed to 10,000 people, that means everybody gets a shitload of money every month in our town. And very soon, you'll be making more money from the distribution of our own companies that you're a part owner of. By simply contributing 3 hours a week, you'll be getting the proceeds from that. That is more than you're getting from your lousy job that endangers your life. Can you see this? How quickly that transition can happen? It is just ridiculous. And guess what the best part of this is? There is no transition phase. No one has to leave their job. You don't have to stop doing what you're doing and now we go down a whole different track. No. You can still keep your job in a bank or own a car factory or whatever. You can carry on doing what you're doing while you're participating 3 hours a week in your one small town. And start. So people are always worried. People are worried about change, because our lives are pretty much driven by fear. So people fear change. They're scared of change. I say, well, how are we going to get from here to there? Well, smoothly, very easily, boom. And once again, I told you, we know that the funding comes from the very small example of North Frontenac in Canada. The investors start to call. And North Frontenac didn't implement their own electricity. So that was a huge problem. If we implement our own electricity, that changes everything. That ups the game infinitely. So that changes pretty much the entire playing field of our town. So what does this lead to? This leads to our town being able to choose to do anything we choose to. We choose to build the most advanced recording studio in the world, right? Because now we get all this money coming in. What is the consequence of building the most advanced recording studio in the world? Yeah, the best musicians are going to come and record their music in our town. What does that do? It brings other people, it amplifies and stimulates so many other things. What if we decide to build the best athletics track in the world? What does that do? You know, it has a knock-on effect in areas that we can't even imagine because we constantly think from a capitalist perspective. So, the answers are very simple. One small town can change the world. One small town will change the world. All we need to do is find that one conscious mayor that wants to implement this. The video is on our website, ubuntuplanet.org. Please get a copy of the Ubuntu book. You can buy it online. We don't have any of them here. We've run out on our tour. Get the book online, read the Ubuntu book, but it doesn't contain the One Small Town strategy. Please go out there, learn as much as you can, download the letter to the mayor, download the One Small Town manifesto, and just absorb it so you it truly resonates in your cells, and then share it with everyone you know. It is no longer on my shoulders. Now that you've heard it, you're responsible for spreading this message and information. I can't do this on my own. So it doesn't require any money. It doesn't require anything. All it requires is the will and the vision to go out and do it. So let's go out there and do this. And I'll hand this over to you. You look like a bunch of smart people to me. I think you're the smartest guy I've ever spoken to. Because this is Los Angeles, obviously, it has to be. So, no, really, just guys, please don't just sit on the fence, okay? If you just sit on the fence and go, oh, it's a great idea, nothing's going to happen, okay? You need to act. You need to do something. And even if it's just sharing the message with others, even if you email your entire freaking database with the little video clip, that's all you need to do to inspire others. Make them go online, join the Ubuntu movement, sign up online, and share the message. That's all we need to do. If you just share the message all the time, this will grow exponentially. If everybody in our current Ubuntu database just invites one person every month to join, by the end of next year, we'll have 200 million members around the world. Okay? That's all you got to do is invite one person a month. 200 million members in 1 year. That's a large number of people. We can shift consciousness in a heartbeat, but it takes you to do something. So I thank you very much for coming here. Is there anything that is on anyone's mind that I can answer very quickly? Because I guess I need to finish here. Anything? Yes. You speak into this microphone here.
So with the free energy concept...
we just speak loudly so everyone can hear you.
Yeah, for the free energy concept, how do communities prevent people like these Royal Bloodline psychopath people from infiltrating essentially with lies and greed? How does that happen?
So the question was, for free energy, how do we prevent infiltration from the psychopaths and the Royal Bloodlines? Which is, we know that we know why cures for cancer get killed and new technology gets killed because it's not good for business. And so unfortunately, inventors and healers are like babies. They have no clue what's going on in the world. And most of the inventors and the great minds out there believe that when they bring a cure for cancer to the government or the drug company, they're going to sing their praises, pat them on the back, and they're going to become a hero. Look, I found a cure for cancer. They have no idea they walk into the lion's or the dragon's lair and dragon's den, and they're going to get decimated. So that's half the problem. Now you have a very different situation. You have a town and a conscious group of people initiating this that know how it works, that guide the mayor and help the mayor to navigate this arena. Because the mayor might be unconscious too. But very quickly we'll introduce the mayor to the realities of the world and tell him or her how to take this forward step by step, so that they don't make the same mistakes. Now it's no longer an inventor in their garage curing cancer or creating a new alternative energy that is very vulnerable and can disappear overnight. Suddenly it's a community of 10,000 people. It's a very different set of circumstances, that everybody knows what we're doing, everybody has seen the technology, the cat's out the bag. It's very difficult to replicate because, we challenge anyone to replicate this technology. It's going to take them many years, but it's not that we don't want them to do that. We want them to only be able to use it if they're going to use it for the benefit of everyone and not their own benefit, like that's the case today. So, and this is why I believe the global consciousness or the Holy Spirit or the great spirit in the sky has prevented the inventors from releasing individual energy devices, because somehow the consciousness field knows that that's just going to cause chaos and bloodshed around the world. It's not going to work. This is the only way we believe, I certainly believe, that you've got to give the electricity to everyone so everybody gets it. And everyone has access to electricity. So whether you're a baker and you need X amount of electricity, that's how much you get. If you're a farmer, you need that amount of electricity, you have access to that electricity. If you just run a normal home, it's a different situation. Everybody gets electricity for what they need and what they contribute towards their community. The other beautiful thing about this, by the way, is that I call this a minority-run system. A minority-run, not a majority-controlled system, a minority-controlled system. And this, sends panic through people. What? You mean a bunch of people are going to tell everyone what to do? No. Well, actually, think about what happens in a majority-driven system. 51 people say we're going to turn left, and 49 people say they want to go right, and everyone is forced to go left. Sorry, you got almost half the people that are pissed off with the other half. That's clearly not a system of elegant solutions. It's a system for conflict, and that's why they promote this. The majority-driven system is a system, political system promoted to create and drive conflict. It's a beautifully disguised poison pill. So the minority-driven system is beautiful, because if you think about our societies and our communities, this is a perfect example, this event. There are so many people doing so many different things. There are healers, there are massagers, there are people that care about the bees, there are people that care about the cleanliness of the air, about fluoride in the water. There's so many minority groups that want to take care of their specialist idea. There are filmmakers, there are teachers, and minority groups that want to focus on what they are good at as a contribution to their community. In the minority, these minority groups never have enough money or technology or space or offices or transport or whatever they need to do. They never enough money to help these minority systems to succeed at what they're doing. In the contributionist system and the one small town model, every minority group, the beekeepers, the butterfly lovers, the tree huggers, the bunny huggers, everyone will get everything they need to the best technology, the best support, whatever they need to do what they're good at to the best of their ability. So in essence, it becomes a minority-driven system. A group of minorities working together, just like the best example in the world today, our bodies. There are trillions of cells in our bodies that all come from one primordial cell. And yet these cells diversify into trillions of diversified cells that do what? They all work together in coherent harmony for the best outcome of the community of cells or the body of cells called our body. Isn't that a spectacular, simple example of how our communities should work? Just look at our bodies. And even when these trillions of cells diversify into other cells, like brain cells and liver cells and stomach cells and heart cells and whatever other cells you have, they don't fight each other. The heart cells don't fight the brain cells to take control of your body, because what happens when that happens? You die. So the only way that cells can operate and the body can operate if they continue cooperating in coherent harmonic resonance. That's how everything works. So to finish here, Let's use our bodies as a perfect example of how to create these harmonious communities of abundance and prosperity. Constantly remind yourself of your body. The moment any group of people, any minority group, any minority cell in your community starts to fight the others, you're creating dis-ease and dissonance in your community. It has to be a flowing, coherent, harmonic resonance at all times for the greatest benefit of all. If it's not good for anyone, if it's not good for everyone, it's not good at all. And I'd like to end on that. Thank you very much.
Michael Tellinger. Yes?